Evelyn in Orlando had a perfect driving record for 38 years. Then on a Thursday afternoon, she tried to renew her registration online, and the screen hit her with one word that changed her whole week: blocked. Not because she was reckless, not because she had a crash. Because her insurance company switched her to paperless notices, a payment didn't go through for 2 days, and the DMV's system saw a lapse before she ever did. By Monday, she had a letter warning her that her registration and driving privileges could be suspended. And the scary part is this: if you drive in Florida, Texas, New York, California, Ohio, or Pennsylvania, the same kind of automated paperwork problem can happen to you next. I'm George Will. I'm a warm, straight-shooting American guy who tracks DMV updates, insurance verification systems, and enforcement changes that affect older drivers. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not here to talk down to you. I'm here because you've earned your independence, and the rules around keeping your license in 2026 are changing in a way that punishes small oversights fast. And in a second, I'm going to tell you the one thing you must do to protect yourself, because the next change catches experienced drivers off guard, and it starts with one letter you almost throw away. You've been driving safely for decades. You know how to handle rain, night driving, and people who cut you off. But 2026 is different for one reason that has nothing to do with your skill. The system isn't being run by a person anymore. More and more of it is being run by connected databases. Before 2026, a lot of problems stayed in the mail. A notice took time to arrive. A clerk might correct something. A grace period might save you. Starting now, states are modernizing, and insurance and DMV systems update faster than your mailbox does. That creates a new danger for good drivers like you. A short insurance gap, a renewal you usually do online, a missed appointment, a doctor report, a failure to show proof at a traffic stop. Each one can trigger an automatic suspension path without anyone stopping to ask, wait, is this person actually unsafe? And when that happens, it's not just inconvenient, it hits your freedom, it hits your dignity. Driving is how you stay connected to your life. So here's the promise of this video. I'm going to walk you through the biggest silent suspension triggers I'm seeing: insurance verification, DMV letters, senior renewals, medical reporting, and hands-free phone laws. And after each one, I'm going to give you one simple action you can do today to protect your license. But first, you need to understand the single most important mindset shift for 2026, because if you miss this, every other rule will feel random. Here it is. In 2026, you don't get to be a little late anymore. Not with insurance, not with renewals, not with DMV letters, because automation doesn't do mercy. Automation does checkboxes. And if a box stays unchecked long enough, the system moves on without you. Now let's get into the first rule change that's taking down good drivers. This one is the biggest, and it starts with something you think is harmless: a brief insurance lapse. Even if you fix it quickly, even if you never drive uninsured, the system can still flag you. Here's what changed. In states like Florida, insurance companies report policy starts and cancellations electronically. Florida explains it plainly. If your insurer tells the state you canceled or removed a vehicle and your Florida registration is still active and no other Florida policy is reported, the department sends a letter telling you to provide coverage information. And if you don't handle it, you can receive a notice of suspension. Now make it personal. Imagine you're switching insurance because prices went up. Your new policy starts Friday. Your old policy ends Thursday night, or your credit card expires, or the bank blocks an auto draft. That tiny gap hits the state system. You don't feel it, you don't see it, but the database sees it. Here's what that can turn into. In Florida law, reinstatement fees for an insurance-related suspension can be very real money. The statute lays it out: $150 for the first reinstatement, $250 for the second, and $500 for each subsequent reinstatement within 3 years. That's not a maybe, that's written into the fee schedule in the law: $150, then $250, then $500. Here's the fix you can do today. Call your insurance company and ask one question. If my policy cancels for any reason, do you report it electronically to the state? If they say yes, then ask the second question. If a payment fails, do you give me a chance to fix it before cancellation? Then do the simplest protection step of all. Set one monthly reminder. Just once a month, you open your insurance app or call and confirm the policy is active. 5 minutes to protect your freedom, and don't go anywhere, because the next trap is nastier. It's not about losing insurance. It's about the DMV not seeing your new insurance fast enough. That one catches people who did everything right. This next change is especially common in California. You can be fully insured and still have your registration suspended. What changed? California's DMV describes the triggers for registration suspension inside the Vehicle Registration Financial Responsibility Program. They explain that the program is required to suspend a vehicle's registration when insurance information isn't submitted within 30 days of being issued a registration card. And when the DMV is notified a policy was canceled and a replacement policy isn't submitted within 45 days. Now picture the real-life version. You switch insurers. The new agent says, "You're covered today," but the DMV database doesn't match yet, or the VIN is off by one character, or the insurer reports cancellation fast. But the replacement upload lags, so the DMV generates a notice. You receive it. And because you feel insured, you think this must be a mistake. You set it aside. Then you get pulled over for something small, a rolling stop, a taillight. The officer runs your plate, and you find out on the roadside that the DMV has your registration marked suspended. That's the kind of moment that makes your stomach drop. The consequence is bigger than the fee. Yes, California mentions a $14 reinstatement fee to clear the suspension, but the bigger consequence is the suspended status itself. It turns normal driving into risk. It can lead to tickets. It can lead to towing in some situations. It can lead to a spiral. Here's the fix. If you get any DMV notice that contains the word insurance, treat it like a medical test result. Same day. Not next week. Same day. And when you call your insurer, confirm 3 things. Your VIN is correct. Your policy number is correct, and the insurer has sent the DMV the updated insurance information. That single call prevents weeks of headache. Now the next change sounds boring until it hits you, because it starts with a piece of mail that looks like junk. And it ends with you standing at the counter saying, "But I never saw that letter." In 2026, ignoring a DMV letter can suspend you faster than a speeding ticket. What changed? States like Florida make it clear they send insurance verification letters and expect you to respond. Florida even points people to their online portal to view copies of notices. That matters for you because the system assumes you got the message. Real life scenario, you're 70, you keep your life simple. You don't live on your phone, you check your mail, but not every day. A DMV letter arrives while your grandkids are visiting or while you're dealing with a health appointment. It gets set aside. Maybe it gets mistaken for a bank ad. Days pass, the deadline passes, and the system escalates. Consequence. This is where older drivers feel blindsided because you didn't do anything dangerous. You didn't do anything wrong behind the wheel. You just didn't respond fast enough. And now you're proving you're compliant instead of just living your life. Fix. 2 actions. First, create your state's online DMV account if it exists, not because you love technology, because you love staying independent. Second, tell one trusted person, spouse, adult, child, neighbor this one sentence. If you see anything from the DMV, hand it to me the same day. That one sentence saves licenses. And the next change is the one that hits seniors differently because it doesn't start at the DMV. It can start at your doctor's office. And once it starts, you're on a timeline. If you're still with me, here's the part most people miss entirely. A lot of experienced drivers think, as long as I don't get tickets, I'm fine. That used to be mostly true. In 2026, paperwork can move against you even when you're driving perfectly. If this is helping you, take 2 seconds and subscribe. Not for me, for you. Because these rules keep changing, and I want you to hear them clearly before they cost you your license. Now let's talk about medical reporting. In some states, a doctor visit can trigger a DMV review, even if you feel fine. What changed? Pennsylvania is very direct about this. PennDOT says it is the law that healthcare personnel who are authorized to diagnose and treat disorders and disabilities report to PennDOT any patient age 15 or older who has been diagnosed with a condition that could impair their ability to safely operate a motor vehicle. Real life scenario, you go for a routine appointment. You mention dizziness, or you start a new medication, or you have a mild stroke scare, or your blood sugar has been unstable. Your doctor's office does what the law requires. They report. Now PennDOT may review your fitness to drive. They may request forms. They may request evaluations. They may request testing. Consequence. This is not about calling you a bad driver. It's about a process that can move forward while you're still trying to understand what's happening. And if you ignore the mail or miss the deadline, you can lose driving privileges faster than you ever imagined. Fix. If you get a medical review letter, don't panic, but do not delay. Call the number on the letter and involve your doctor's office immediately. Ask what exactly was reported and what does the DMV need back from you. That's not begging, that's protecting your independence with paperwork. Now, the next change is totally different. It's not medical, it's not insurance. It's the thing millions of good drivers do at stoplights, and it's becoming one of the easiest tickets for police to write. In many places, if you hold your phone, you can get pulled over for that alone. What changed? The U.S. Department of Transportation's Bureau of Transportation Statistics described that as of October 2021, 24 states plus Washington, D.C. prohibit all drivers from using handheld cell phones while driving. And they emphasize these are primary enforcement laws, meaning an officer can cite you for that alone. Now I want to ask you a direct question. Have you ever sat at a red light, engine running, and picked up your phone just to check a message? Most people have, and that's why this is so dangerous. Real life scenario. You're stopped. You're not speeding. You're not swerving. You glance down and hold the phone. An officer sees it. You get a ticket. And then your insurance price jumps at renewal. Now you're paying for just a second for years. Let me give you a concrete example. Virginia's messaging is blunt. It is illegal to hold a phone while driving. They list fines of $125 for a first offense and $250 for a second or subsequent offense. That's not a warning. That's cash out of your pocket. And Georgia explains their hands-free law in plain language too. Georgia's Department of Driver Services says the Hands-Free Georgia Act requires drivers to refrain from physically holding or supporting a wireless device while operating a vehicle, and they spell out penalties that increase. A first conviction is 1 point and up to a $50 fine, second is 2 points and up to $100, third or more is 3 points and up to $150 fix. Make a hard rule for yourself. Before you put the car in gear, the phone goes into a holder, the console, or the glove box. If you need navigation, set it before the wheels roll. And if your phone rings, let it ring. Because your freedom is worth more than any call. Now, the next change is one of the biggest reasons seniors get blindsided. It's not a ticket, it's not a crash. It's renewal rules that change with age, and the DMV expects you to know them. You might not be allowed to renew the way you've always renewed. What changed? Texas is crystal clear about older driver renewals. Texas DPS says when you are 79 years or older, you are required to renew your driver license in person at your local driver license office. They also say you must pass the vision exam during that visit. And they even change renewal periods by age. 79 to 84 can receive an 8-year license, while 85 and over receive a 2-year license. Florida is also clear. Florida says a Class E driver license must be renewed every 8 years for customers 79 and younger, and at age 80 it must be renewed every 6 years. Florida adds that customers 80 and older who are not eligible to renew online are required to pass a vision test, and they describe options for taking it at a service center or through a Florida licensed eye professional. Now here's the 2026 part that a lot of people have not heard. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety tracks renewal procedures. Their table includes notes about Illinois changes effective July 1, 2026. They note that Illinois will require an applicant age 87 and older to demonstrate the ability to safely operate a motor vehicle effective July 1, 2026. They also note changes around online renewal availability for older ages. Real-life scenario: your birthday month comes. You're busy. You assume you'll renew online like always. But the DMV says you must renew in person now. You try to get an appointment, and the calendar is booked. Days pass. Then your license expires. Now a renewal issue becomes a driving risk issue, because if you drive on an expired license, you've handed an officer a reason to pull you deeper into the system. Fix: do not wait for the renewal notice. This week, check your renewal method. In Texas, if you're 79 or older, plan for an in-person renewal and vision exam. In Florida, if you're 80 or older, know your renewal cycle is shorter and that you may need a vision test if you can't renew online. And if you live in Illinois and you're approaching 87, pay attention to the July 1, 2026 change. Now, the next change is where it all connects: insurance systems, DMV systems, and even out of state systems. This one matters if you ever move, snowbird, or help family in another state, because the databases now talk to each other more than they used to. In 2026, you can't quietly keep two states happy anymore. The system tries to make you choose. What changed? AMVA, the organization behind many DMV technology standards, describes a state-to-state verification service. They explain it allows a state to electronically check with participating states to determine if an applicant currently holds a driver license or ID card in another state. They say it limits a person to one driver license, and they say it enables a state to send a request to another state to surrender or invalidate a license or ID. Real life scenario: you live in Ohio, but you spend winters in Florida, or your daughter in Texas needs help with the grandkids, so you stay 4 months. You update an address in one state, but not the other. You renew something in one state, but not the other. And suddenly, a system flags your record as a conflict. Now you're spending hours on the phone trying to prove who you are and where you live. Consequence: this doesn't always equal suspension, but it can create delays, holds, or extra steps that feel like punishment when all you were trying to do was live your life. And for a senior driver, delays can be dangerous, because delays push you closer to expiration dates, missed deadlines, and automatic actions. Fix: if you move, update your address promptly with your DMV. If you're a snowbird, be very careful about what state considers you a resident for licensing, and never assume they won't notice. The whole point of modern verification is that they do notice. Now there's one more silent license killer I need you to understand, because this one happens during a traffic stop, and it's not about whether you had insurance. It's about whether you can prove it in that moment. You can be insured and still get hit with an insurance suspension process if you can't show proof. What changed? Ohio's BMV explains a non-compliance suspension happens when a driver fails to show proof of insurance at a traffic stop or at the time of an accident. Ohio also says the suspension can be removed if valid proof of coverage at the time of the stop or accident is provided. Real-life scenario: your insurance is active, but your phone is dead, or the app won't load, or you printed your card last year and never replaced it. The officer asks for proof. You can't show it. Now you're fighting a process you don't deserve. Consequence: Ohio's reinstatement requirements can include carrying N Senior 22 or bond for a period of time and paying a reinstatement fee, depending on the situation and timing, and the bigger consequence is stress, paperwork, time, fear, all because of one missing piece of proof. Fix: print your insurance card today, put it in your glove box, and put a second copy somewhere you can reach it, because the worst time to figure it out is on the shoulder of the road. Now let's turn all of this into a personal action plan, not tips, not theory, a plan you can actually do, because the point is simple. Protect your independence. Here is exactly what I want you to do this week. First, do a 5-minute insurance confirmation. Call your insurer and verify 3 things. Your policy is active, the VIN is correct, and the state has the right policy on file. If you recently changed carriers, ask if the state database has been updated. Yet, second, create a DMV mail rule. From today forward, any letter from the DMV gets opened the same day. If you don't like opening mail, hand that job to one trusted person in your life, because an open mail is where automatic suspensions are born. Third, check your renewal method based on your age. If you're 79 or older in Texas, plan for in-person renewal and a vision exam. If you're 80 or older in Florida, know your cycle is shorter and you may need a vision test if you can't renew online. And if you live in Illinois and you're nearing 87, pay attention too. What changes on July 1st, 2026? Fourth, fix the phone habit. No phone in your hand when the engine is running. If you need it, mount it. If it rings, let it ring. Because distracted driving laws are expanding, and primary enforcement means you can get pulled over for that alone. Fifth, if a medical review letter ever comes, don't panic and don't delay. Respond fast, call the number on the letter, involve your doctor's office right away, because the DMV clock doesn't care that you were scared or confused. Now let me land this with one warm truth. You've earned the right to drive to your life. You've earned your independence. But 2026 is different, not because you became a bad driver, because the system became faster, stricter, and more automatic. So here's the one takeaway I want burned into your memory. Small oversights now carry big consequences. Handle the small stuff early and you stay free. Wait too long and the computer decides for you. Tell me in the comments what surprised you most. Was it the insurance lapse rules? The medical reporting? The in-person renewal changes? Or the hands-free phone laws? I read every single comment, and if you want me to continue with the next section where I'll cover exactly what to do the moment you receive a suspension notice, how to check your insurance status online in states like New York, and the fastest ways to clear common DMV holds, type the word continue, and I'll keep going.